Let's finish a portrait in an embroidery hoop. The first key is making sure the fabric is cut to size all the way around. You want it to be 1 to 2 inches all the way around. And I used pinking shears, which gives it that zigzag look, but you can just use regular scissors as well. And the next thing you're going to want to do is find some floss or thread that is roughly the same color as your Aida fabric. The color doesn't really matter, but I like it to match. In this case, I'm going to use 822, pretty close match to the antique white fabric I'm using. So cut a length that is going to be long enough to go all the way around your hoop. So I'm using a 3-inch hoop here, so I'm going to cut the floss to be able to wrap around the hoop and then some, just a little extra for safety. Now, just as a visual reminder, what we're doing essentially is pulling the edges of the fabric into the center like this. So you want things to be pretty even in your stitching around the center of where this fabric is going to pull into. So I like to stitch along the outer edge of the Aida fabric, leaving maybe about 1/4 of an inch of space between my stitches and the outer edge of the fabric. Then you need to make sure the floss is anchored. I like to do a cross stitch just because I'm a cross stitcher. So I'll do a quick cross stitch, make sure I catch the tail, and then I know that the floss is secure and it's not going anywhere, and then I can keep going with the process. What you want to do next is create a running stitch around the outer edge of your excess fabric. And a running stitch is the most basic stitch you probably learned when you were young. It's in, out, in, out. It creates a dashed line. So try and keep those dashes, those stitches, approximately the same length. That's not going to make or break the end here, but it's just nice for consistency. So in and out, all the way around, keeping the distance and the lengths of those stitches consistent. You don't need to worry about scrunching things together too much at this point. You can take care of that all at the end. And in hyperspeed, boy, it's satisfying to watch it come together so quickly. When you get back to where you started, this is the fun part. You make your final stitch and then you pull. And sometimes this comes together really easily, like this portrait, and sometimes you need a little elbow grease if your Aida fabric is a little more stiff. But just give it a nice, solid pull. Trust that the floss and the thread and fabric is going to do what it needs to do. You can adjust the pleats, the creases if you want to, but just give it a good pull, and that'll bring the fabric right into the center. Now, I noticed the hole in the center of my fabric's a little small, so I'm just going to part it a little and stick some felt in the back. That's optional. I just like to stick some felt in the back for finishing purposes. You can do that if you'd like. Then you pull it tight, and then all you need to do is secure the floss in this tightness. So hold it tight with one hand, and I just run the needle and floss through the Aida fabric a few times in the back. There's not a ton of rhyme or reason to it. I just pull it through and loop it around itself 2, 3, 4 times until I feel like it's really not going to go anywhere. And that's it. You could totally stop that process right here, or if you feel like the frayed edges around the center are going to drive you a little bit crazy, you could use a product like Drit's Fray Check. I really like that one. There are other fray preventable products out there, but you could just drip the Fray Check all the way around the center, and that's going to prevent the threads from fraying. So that's one extra step you could take to finish the back side of the portrait. Another thing you could do is some people have little charms or ribbons or stickers or insignia of some kind that they put on the back to sign it or to show that it was made by them. So I've got a little ribbon that I could, if I wanted to, just lay it right across the back, and that would also cover up the stitch that I just made to secure the floss into place. So that's a little trick there. You could just cut your ribbon to size, lay it across the back, and it not only then shows that you are the one who created the work, you're the artist, but it makes it look a little bit nicer overall. One thing that I like to do, though you could stop here, is cover the backside with a piece of felt. I've seen other stitchers use cardboard and cardstock, decorative paper, other types of fabric to finish the backside of their portraits, and some people just leave the cinched Aida because that's its own look too. So for me, I'm going to take my little personalized ribbons and use French knots to secure it to the felt first. And then, again, it's not very official, but I just create stitches to adhere the felt to the fabric. So you'll see that in just a second. To secure the felt onto the back of my portrait, which again, this is an optional extra step, I'll use the same color of floss that I did to cinch the Aida fabric to the center in the first place. And basically, I just bring my needle up through from the underside of the Aida fabric, and then I bring it in at a diagonal, aiming towards the center of the felt, but just maybe a 1/4 inch length stitch. It'll look like a sunburst all the way around the edges, and I feed the needle through at an angle to bring it back up from the underside of the Aida fabric so that I can repeat the stitch and go all the way around and around and around, completing that look. When it's done, you'll see it's got a really friendly, crafty look. I think it looks like a sunburst. I really like the way it looks. And that is how you can finish the backside of your portrait in an embroidery hoop.